Hi, I'm Katie Kerr, and I'm here in the studio today interviewing Leela from San Francisco. Leela is the daughter of Chinese immigrants to the United States and has grown up and had close interactions with the infamous Chinatown area of San Francisco. How are you today, Leela?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on the show.
My first question for you today is what was the importance of Chinese American names as indications of the American cultural influence on Chinese immigrants?
I think American names were really important to the initial Chinese immigrants to this country. I think when the Chinese first came here, they relied on American names as a way to get jobs and as a way to find their way in the American system. And now I think with the subsequent generations, I think that there's been the continuation of using American names because they've almost tried to maintain the separation from the traditional Chinese culture, kind of maintain their American heritage, I guess.
Going along with this idea of cultural identity, your sister Nina, how do you feel about her leaving the family and traveling to New York?
I think Nina going to New York is pretty funny because in so many ways she moved to New York to try and separate herself from China and from her roots in Chinatown, and in so many ways it made her that much closer to us. I think when she moved to New York, she met a Chinese man, she started dating, and she started to give tours in China as a job. So it's funny that when somebody tries to step away from their roots and and they think that things aren't important to them, that they realize that it's just who they are, and it brings it right back to where it began almost.
Do you feel that you yourself have stayed true to your cultural identity?
I think that I've struggled throughout my life trying to maintain the traditional Chinese customs while also being in touch with the American modern society. I've always gotten into disagreements with my mom about things that choices I've made. For example, I moved in with my boyfriend, which in traditional Chinese culture is not accepted at all. However, in American culture, it's it's acceptable. And my mother doesn't see that. She grew up in China. She lived in China. Moving here, she didn't change into adapting a more American philosophy on things like that. She's even more furious when I got married to him without telling him because of her ideas of traditional weddings, and she didn't believe that going off and getting married in New York was just something to do.
Well, it sounds like it's hard for many people to understand the difficulties of people that immigrate to the United States. Do you feel that the American culture is influenced by Chinese immigrants, or do you think the culture was lost upon immigration to the States?
I think that the original Chinese immigrants were able to establish themselves and able to maintain their culture within the American society. But as subsequent generations began to, you know, get farther and farther away from those traditional roots, I think that we've almost lost a lot of our culture. I think that people forget where they where they came from and that their parents were once immigrants into this country. And it's really hard. I think that I've witnessed it personally, and once you become immersed in a culture, you lose what's traditional, and you almost become, you want to become almost American, but you have parents that don't quite understand that, and I think the other part of it would be that in order to find success in America, it seems that you have to assimilate to the culture, or else you'd just be left behind, which I think happened to a lot of Chinese immigrants.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for stopping by, everybody.
Thanks for having me.